Darwin put forth a theory in 1859, and he said very clearly, I have one of the original copies of his text, the original title, The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. That's the title most of our listeners know that book by.
That's right, we know, yeah.
Okay? That is not the full title. The rest of the title was relegated to the inside pages early in the 20th century.
Who would know that?
Well, the scholars know it very well because the rest of the title, The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, and then it has the word or, the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life. That's the rest of the title. And that gives us a very, very different feel for Darwin's work. And it tells us two things about Darwin. First, it tells us he believed there were favored races, number one. Number two, he believed life was a struggle. So every observation that he made, that he wrote about, that we're now teaching in our textbooks, he made those through his preconceived ideas of struggle. He saw the struggle everywhere.
Was he a believer in God?
I think he believed in a higher power, but he specifically said, up until 1859, those big questions that I've just shared, they were all answered by the church in religious organizations. And he did his very best. I think he was a good scientist. He did his best to take the first step to move us away from religion when we go about answering those questions.
155 years ago.
I think he was a good scientist. However, and I just want to be really clear, people ask me this all the time, I don't agree with what he did. Where I think Darwin went wrong is that he made a generalization. He believed that when he saw nature in one place, in one moment in time, in one part of the world, what he saw happening there represented a rule that applies to all nature,
right,
everywhere, all over the world and beyond, including us.
Well, and he didn't have our kind of tools that we have today.
Didn't.
I wonder how his thought pattern would be if he were around today.
Well, Darwin was the first, and I share this in the books. He said, I am offering a theory that will move us away from religion. And he said, this is only the first step. It was not meant to last forever. And he said, he was willing for his theory to fall. He said, when my theory falls, the discovery that breaks my theory becomes the new theory.
Right.
So he was willing for his theories to fall. The academia of today, the academic institutions are the ones that are refusing to allow his theories to fall. For example, he believed life began with a single organism and evolved slowly over long periods of time. That was his original theory, and we've talked about this before. So he believed that there would be fossil evidence that would support that. So what science did in 1859, they were so willing to embrace his ideas. There wasn't a lot of scrutiny, a lot of critique, a lot of criticism. They embraced the ideas. They developed a model, and what is happening is that today, anthropologists today, and I have friends in the field, and we have these conversations all the time in the universities.
Are they battles or conversations?
They're conversations between us. They're battles that they're fighting within the institutions. Because what the thinking is, they're looking for fossil evidence to fit into a preconceived model of this evolutionary idea, rather than allowing the fossil evidence to tell the story that it's actually telling. And what the story is telling is that evolution is a fact. And as a geologist, I can tell you that. I've seen it in the fossil record. It breaks down when it comes to humans. The evolutionary theory, we appeared in these bodies.
We're just like something totally separate.
We showed up on Earth about 200,000 years ago, George. And if you were to take a skeleton of one of us 200,000 years ago, and if it were in another chair here next to us, except that the legs were a little thicker, and they think that maybe because we ran more or walked more back then.
Sure, we didn't have cars.
You can't tell them from us. Our cranial size is the same, the cranial capacity the same, the body proportions are the same. We haven't changed in 200,000 years. Now, that's not Darwin's idea of evolution. So I don't know.
Is there a but here?
I don't want to get sidetracked on it right now, because what we're doing, and this is one example, is that we're refusing to allow the evidence to tell the story. We're trying to force the evidence, not you and me, not our listeners, but academia in general, trying to force the evidence into a story that the data simply doesn't support.